Welcome all the panelists. What we'll do is over the next 60 odd minutes, we'll try to see as to how technology has evolved and more importantly in the supply chain ecosystem, what's worked, what is not so well, what has not worked. I'll request the panelists to kind of introduce themselves and then we'll get into our discussion over the next few minutes. Starting with you.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. My name is Aritra Ghosh. I am the Vice President for Manufacturing Engineering for Mercedes-Benz Research and Development here in India. What me and my team do is we plan and execute most of the engineering and planning for our different assets across the globe, be it the factories, be it the buildings of the factories, be it the processes in those factories, and we also do the entire planning for our supply chain network out of here. The second biggest block which we do out of India is the transformation of our organization, and while we are planning the future of our company, we also do the digital transformation or the digital journey of it, bringing in new technologies and innovation in order to ensure that the production units of the future are also fit for the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Mandar Vaidya. I am responsible for materials management for region India for ZF Group. ZF is a multinational organization based out of Germany. And we have multiple factories in India across all divisions, not only automotive, but also industrial. And what we do here is we, of course, ensure that we serve the Indian factories, but we also promote exports out of India. So just to give a perspective to what Saket said, I think we are about slightly more than 1% of the component exports from India going out into the value chain. And if we add the products into it, cross about 2.5–3% of India's contribution there. But what is of course important for us, and I will touch upon that when I explain this, is the supply chain perspective is shifting. It's not only end-to-end supply chain, but the ends are getting stretched. We are also extending it to the level 2, level 3 suppliers, getting in sustainability aspects, responsible supply chain aspects, and the visibility. So it's all getting more and more complex. So we look at that, but also enable the Indian supplier ecosystem to be ready to take those challenges. So that's what we do.
Thank you.
I'm Shiv Kumar Nanjan, Head of Global Sales and Strategy, work with Acviss Technologies. We have the global headquarters in Bangalore. We are specialized in offering anti-counterfeit solution for various product categories and different industry verticals. At the same time, we also enhance by providing the digital identity to the product to seamlessly handle the supply chain process. Thereby, the tracking becomes a lot more easier and with very minimal pilferage in the supply chain process. Thank you.
My name is Nitish. I'm the founder and CEO of FreightFox. We are end-to-end platform for logistics digitalization. Generally, what we expertise or where we are making an impact is bringing life to the data and helping organizations take decisions out of it in the real time and in the way which can really impact the ability for them to be responsive and be agile. Our platform, the uniqueness is that our platform is architected on Unified Logistics Interface Platform, ULIP. And it's a Build in India platform for the world, wherein we are not only be able to make impact here, but across the globe. It holds a similar potential as UPI, and we are building and developing our capabilities along with the customers in that direction.
Thank you, Nitish. So, thank you everyone. I think to start with, when we talk about auto components, and particularly I would like to just take a minute talk about, say, electronics, auto electronics. Now, worldwide, it's roughly a $250 billion industry, and it is expected to grow at a CAGR of roughly around 5 to 6% over the next few years. India is roughly around, not even, I would say, approximately 10.6 billion, but is expected to go up to 70 billion. So that's a potential India really has. And the contribution that India possibly will have to the global market is going to go up from the current level of 3 to 4% to up to 9%. That's the estimate which came out from a study that we did almost a year and a half back. Now, this brings a very important aspect that how supply chain is going to play a significant role. And when I say supply chain, this is the entire ecosystem of the manufacturers in India, the companies that, the tier ones, tier twos supporting them, as well as the logistics. We heard in the previous session as well, some of the peculiar pain points around demand forecasting, geopolitical issues, all those factors will keep on hampering the growth projections that we keep for ourselves. My first question to you, Mandar, if I may, because your organization believes in a lot of innovation in products which really matters to the end user when the user uses a vehicle. And more importantly, the profile that you are currently handling. What's been your experience, or how much belief that you have that what role will technology play in making sustainable supply chain ecosystem across the world?
Well, so as we discussed, I'm going to get a slightly different view here. Let me start with saying that we talked about 4 M's some years ago, and it's been a thing of the past. A lot of things have got added to it. So the complexity has increased multifold. And so we talked about man, machine, materials, money. Sustainability came in. Responsible supply chain came in. Now we are talking about data security. How do you protect data? Because last year I said that how does the data seamlessly flow through the value chain is what matters, and how do you build that confidence into people? But at the same time, the challenge is how do you secure the data? How sure are you that it will not go out? So if you have to connect all these dots, technology is extremely important for us, because humanly it's impossible to keep a track of all the variables which are coming in every day, the geopolitical issues, the policy topics which are coming in. We talked about BIS in the last session. So it's humanly impossible to adjust yourself immediately, because flexibility is the name of the game. So technology becomes a huge enabler there. But what is also important is, and these 2 aspects is where I take my freedom here, is how do you build that confidence into the different stakeholders in the supply chain? That they should share the data transparently. That they should, because everyone thinks that data is my data. And how do you build that confidence that my data will be shared in a good way? But it's a 2-way communication. If a customer is ready to share the data transparently, or keeping some things with them, and the supplier is keeping something with them. And second aspect is, technology again is an enabler. What are the human skill sets we are building in to use the technology? Because if we feed in something to the technology, you will get the same sort of quality of data which has been fed in, or the variables which have been fed in. So how do you increase our human capital to have the right sort of data sets getting into the tech platform? Would be very important coming in, because when we say responsible supply chain, we have to have an end-to-end visibility, how we are responsibly sourcing it. When we talk about the sustainability aspects, the circular economy aspects, how are we making it visible to all the stakeholders through the supply chain? Because the supply chain is not only supplier to customer. It's origin, supplier, customer, end user, and again back to origin. So that's the way we look at supply chain. And technology is a huge enabler there, because without that, it's impossible to manage all these things. What we do is we are part of the Catenaics network already globally, which builds an open sharing platform for the supplier ecosystem. But we are also getting into this building the human capital with our suppliers. So we do a lot of trainings to them, not only on the manufacturing and flexibility and all those things, but also on sustainability, also on CBAM coming in, also responsible. So we have to enable them or enable Indian suppliers to step up their game with speed.
No, thank you, Mandar. I think moving on, one of the other important factors when we look at the supply chain in the automotive space is on the counterfeiting of components. And there are various studies which get done by different agencies. ACMA has also published a lot of information, data points around it. And interestingly, I was going across one of such studies, and it talked about that almost 89 to 90% of the people acknowledge the fact that yes, they at a point of time get into a situation wherein they might be using any kind of a counterfeited product when it comes to auto components. And almost 20% of the road accidents which occur in India occur because of such counterfeited products. It's a big issue as far as the automotive supply chain is concerned. Now, let's ask Shiv, because Shiv, you've been working in this space for many years. You've got a fair amount of experience in managing such issues. What's your belief in terms of the different standards being there? For example, there are ISO standards which talk about it. Technology also is now playing a very significant role. We have seen with our customers, with our clients, when it comes to aftermarket operations, how they have kind of embraced technology to manage such issues. What do you think can be done to minimize the risk of counterfeit products in India, in the auto component space?
Thanks, Saket. I think we all know that the counterfeit is a major threat to industries world over. And some of the products, when we channelized, the agrochemical products, pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, electrical, accessories, and also alcohol. Besides that, even the automobile spare parts has also taken the big role, mainly because it jeopardizes the brand. Not only that, it affects the the people when it comes to, it is the life-threatening event can happen in any of the product categories that I mentioned. So thereby, it becomes a lot more important, it's paramount that the brand should definitely take a call in introducing a digital identity for every single product they ship across the supply chain route. That becomes very important. Originally, QR codes were definitely in place. Even before that, RFIDs were there. But we thought QR code was the end to all this. But that's only giving the brand visibility. You're trying to create a brand out of a QR code when it's being applied on a product. But you need to go definitely one step ahead and then see how secure this can be once the the unique identity is applied on the packaging itself. So 10 years back when Nandan Nilekani was given a one-page directive about the introduction of Aadhaar, we all thought when the service center, we just visit them and then just take the photo and come back, similar to the ration cards or the voters. That wasn't the case. We had to give all the 10 finger impressions and also facial recognition. The paramount was to create a unique identity for every single, entity that was the main important. Similarly, when we talk about any product that can go into the supply chain needs to have the unique identity given, not just the QR code. So when I recently had an interaction with the VP of a pharmaceutical company, he mentioned that, Shiv, counterfeiters are smarter than you and I. What more can we do to eradicate that? So unless the solution providers are highly innovative, creative, have a strong R&D, trying to understand the problem from the market and then come up with various solutions. Now, every 6 months, it's good to have something unique coming up so that the counterfeiters really struggle to come up with any replica. Even recently, I was going through some of the videos of even the most popular brands, which is globally renowned. The consumers have started publishing the photo, how they were affected, how they showed the products which were counterfeited, that goes beyond our imagination. We wouldn't visualize that these products can definitely be counterfeited at all. I'm sure all of you must have witnessed some kind of videos from the consumer from different products. Of course, automobile products were one such. So it becomes important for the automobile manufacturers to look into the aftermarket segment to introduce digital or the unique identity for every single package, which gets uniformly streamlined across the supply chain. That would at least to eradicate to some extent. Yeah.
So, Shiv, if I can ask a related one, because typically what has been seen in other industries, let's say pharma, wherein traceability is of utmost importance. Do you think in automotive supply chain, traceability is still a challenge for us to see that kind of a what we have seen in let's say pharma?
Yeah, it is because the limitation doesn't end with just a consumer trying to verify if the product is genuine or not. The brands, once they introduce the the identity across the supply chain, not just one layer or one tier, right from the plant, all the way till it reaches the end consumer. Every phase, when you track, utilizing the latest technologies that's available, it could be via the handheld scanner or the cameras in place, right from the production line till the consumer. You will be able to get, immense data that can be utilized for your betterment in the entire supply chain route, streamlining the whole process. That becomes very important, yes.
So it's an ever evolving kind of a challenging scenario wherein, as you said, the people who counterfeit are much smarter.
Yes.
Vis-a-vis people who actually come up with some kind of mitigation strategies to mitigate those risks. Perfect. So I think if we now look at again purely from a supply chain standpoint, we heard Shiv talking about the issues on counterfeit. Mandar talked about a very important aspect of how do we ensure transparency in all our relationships with the vendors and the suppliers, etc. And taking some cue from the previous session, which delved into more about the logistics or the freight management. Let me bring you in, Nitish, over here, because you've been very close to this industry for many years. You've seen it more closely than anyone sitting possibly on this dais. Again, technology in transportation is something which has been there for many years. But what are the new trends, what are the new challenges that you as an entrepreneur have been experiencing? And what would be your outlook on this particular aspect?
Sure. So, thanks, Saket. The interesting aspect is, and I'll just take an example from the previous panel as well. And if you look at logistics is ultimately, what to say, it's like when the entire organization says that all the inefficiencies are passed on to one function at the end to execute, whether it is month end, whether it is anything else. That is where, so I say a very, very simple line that logistics is all about planning what is going to happen and then end up explaining why it didn't, right? So that's the area we are in. Technology is enabler actually, right? I've been working in this space for a pretty long time, and technology basically is enabler. Why I say so is because then it need to cross the change management, it need to cross the mindset issues, it need to cross the comfort zones organizations are in. For example, why I said last panel's example is that we are talking about demand forecasting and whatnot and AI and all everything. But OEM wants that I will be operating just in time, but you keep inventory outside my campus, right? I want my peak inverting into X times should be there outside my. So in this spirit, are we even addressing the elephant in the room? That are we in the essence ready to take on this challenge? So when we look at the technology trends and everything is evolving, right? In terms of you see trucking is evolving. Infrastructure is evolving, then the organization themselves are evolving because of systems, processes, challenges which are coming in. But what's happening around it is again, as I said, is a little surprising because let's take an example that a lot of manufacturers are there in the room And we see that the Mumbai-Nagpur transit time is now reduced for any vehicle. So consider a 18 metric ton multi-axle vehicle, which was taking, let's say, around 16 hours earlier, now can travel in 12 hours, let's say, or 11 hours, in fact, right? Now, has it changed anything? Like, is our warehousing space shrinked, or is our speed of execution increased? So the problem is that the technology systems, which are legacy systems within the organizations, are not capable of taking this dynamic input, that the infrastructure is, well, India would have over 23 expressways by 2025. Have we done our network benchmarking, that how our network is going to evolve? Post GST, how many of us have closed down the warehouses and moved to a central distribution or those kind of mechanisms? So these are the things which are part of beyond technology challenges which are there. Similarly, if we look at India, we have the most underpowered trucks right now which are operating. Now, few of the manufacturers are trying, few of the logistics service providers are trying a different element, delivery, for example, or where they are deploying Volvos or other kind of little powered vehicles. Yeah. But even if the infrastructure is there, can the multi-axle truck run with the speed of 100 kilometers per hour? That's the question. So, as I said again, there we are losing, I guess, because the freight rates are stagnant. So, there's a vicious circle that we can't make trucks which can go with a larger speed. Therefore, we cannot change what's the inventory deployment policy we are operating with. Circle, so it goes on in circle actually. So, all these trends are evolving right now. I would say that at least the positivity is that now there's a visibility. So, now there's an acceptance and visibility. We are yet to cover a very long distance in terms of how the impacts can be felt for this.
Interesting. Let me ask anyone, feel free to answer. I think Nitish, as you pointed out from a transportation standpoint, one of the other important aspect would be the alternative modes of transportation. We have not, as a country, we have not done much about, say, utilizing rivers as a network. Roads, railways always have been there, but what are those other alternative ways of transportation? Any thoughts generally from anyone as to how India can progress or utilize those alternative modes of transportation?
I just add quickly one point here, and you rightly said, the problem is that, and why I am pointing out, because all of us have to give it a thought. Yeah. We can book our seat on a train with a click with the IRCTC portal. How many of us know that can we book a parcel also as simple as that? Can we? The answer is no, right? We can talk all multimodal everything and things which are there. But is it real? So we have been part of, in fact, discussions with railways that why we are not democratizing the booking of parcels over APIs. Why not? Right? The same problem exists when it comes to rivers. Same problem exists when it comes to dedicated freight corridor. The change of hands is impossible to synchronize. It's right now very, very asynchronous, which creates a lot of problem, as well as the cost. Therefore, in India, generally, if the delivery head is not beyond 900 kilometers typically, even the rail doesn't make sense. So those are the things, same case goes with the river as well. Right. So Inland Waterway Authority of India is working on the design of RoRo vessels. They are working on, they have also channelized one route wherein some of the organizations are trying it. But what percentage of freight can move to that is a function of how democratized the setup is. In essence.
And how comfortable and confident am I actually in terms of using those modes of transportation?
It should not bring me hassle, simple, as an organization.
Yes. So. It's a case in, like, for example, when we talk about electric vehicle adoption, we expected certain percentage of electric vehicles to be there on the road by, say, 2030. Though we are on that journey, but maybe not as aggressive as what was envisaged. So I think it will go on similar ways in terms of how we can start utilizing alternative modes of transportation in the years to come, which becomes a very important aspect as far as the supply chain is concerned.
Can I make a comment here?
Yeah, sure, Mandar.
I would also think from the risk versus reward point of view.
Yeah.
Using rivers or alternate modes of transport, or even e-vehicles for that matter.
Yeah.
That, what are my risks if the reliability is not assured? Because if I put it on the river and as was said, that the handing over and taking over is not so reliable.
The last mile is...
So if my risk, because of that delay or a potential delay is higher, I would not shift it.
Right.
Yeah.
So how are we building that reliability there?
Yes, so very important, absolutely. Great. I think moving on, one of the other important aspects when we talk about supply chain, etc., is the capability building. and in terms of India really positioning itself as a very strong capability talent pool available for the global players for them to come and invest in India as far as their capability centers are concerned. Interestingly, in the automotive space, the amount of R&D spend is roughly between 2 to 3% vis-a-vis a global standard of say 8 to 9%. So we are still lagging behind in terms of really making those efforts, but things are changing. If we talk about the global capability centers in India moving at a CAGR of roughly around 10 to 11%, there are almost 1700. I may be wrong, you'll be right person to really talk about Aritra, but 1700 to 1800 GCCs or the global capability centers currently operating in India and adding up almost 100 centers on an average annual basis. My question to you, because you have been instrumental in terms of running successfully a GCC in India, which is on manufacturing excellence. How do you see this as an opportunity for India? What is that companies or the global players should really be doing to make India as a preferred destination when it comes to a GCC or a center of excellence?
So if you look at how OEMs are looking at the entire globe, and one of the biggest challenges which the OEMs are facing across the globe is getting the right talent to where they need it right now. And if we are all in the room, we know one of the biggest challenges all the industries are facing right now, especially related to manufacturing, is the pace of digital transformation which is happening. And I always say, where else in the world would you go if you are looking for that pool of talent of doing digital work? Number one. Number two, you have rightly said there are more than 1,500 GCCs. They are growing rapidly. I think I heard a number that only in the last couple of years, Bangalore added around more than 300 GCCs, and the pace is going to go up. The reason for that is also primarily that the kind of work which we are doing in manufacturing. Earlier, it was very much location specific. You have to be in a plant, you have to be on site, you have to do your tryouts. But now if you look at our development cycle and you say, okay, I need to build up a plant in the year X, and you start building in brick and mortar maybe 18 to 23 months in advance, you start doing the installations and the tryouts. The entire period before that can be handled digitally. We're talking about digital twins of the processes, of the assets, yeah? And that gives India a natural advantage of bringing that work down to India. Also, what is enabling and boosting the entire GCC is what was said in the panel earlier. The entire automotive market in India is also maturing, and thereby the availability of those skills, the know-how is also maturing, and that is something which everyone is taking advantage of. If I come specifically now to supply chain, and in my team we do a lot of work for supply chain across the globe, because you mentioned earlier Catena X, for example, right? So in my previous role, I was responsible as the global head for digital business for Mercedes-Benz operations. And I was one of the founding members of the Catena X group. And the entire requirements which are coming from us from a sustainability point of view, from a government point of view, the certificates we have to maintain. We started with the intelligent ledgers, where we have everything onboarded so that we can give the transparency. We are now responsible to publish a sustainability report for the EU every year, which costs a lot of money. And for that, we need that transparency. And we need a lot of data. So that is something where India is playing a very strong role in setting up that entire infrastructure for the company. Where we are also working and we are taking advantage of the ingenuity. I always say that what India gives you is not only the power, the skill, but a lot of frugal ingenuity. Yeah? And that's integral part of the Indian culture. We try to find out ways of solving problems in a frugal and efficient way. And one of the things we keep discussing is, for example, if you look at the automotive component industry, and we for our parts also see how much air are we transporting across the globe in the different containers. Yeah? We just open up some of our containers, you'll see how much air is in there. And how can we optimize it? And their technology plays a brilliant role, because there you can use AI, Gen AI, and all these technologies to optimize your, we call in German, Ladungsträger, to build them and make them the most optimum. We are using AI and different technologies also to pack our containers more efficiently. And these are all areas where India has a natural advantage because of its people, because of the mindset, because of what we can do out of a remote location, and that's what automotive OEMs are actually banking on and building upon.
But how do you see the outlook? I mean, like over the next few years, you believe that yes, we'll be having a much stronger CAGR as far as the GCCs are concerned?
Absolutely, I am totally convinced about it because the journey of the GCCs, and I was talking to someone who opened one of the first GCCs for American finance company many years back. It started as a natural journey of being an extended workbench. Let me offshore some of my documentation over there. Let me offshore some part of my work over there. But now if you look at GCCs and also in our company, we are globally accountable for topics. So there are certain topics and certain areas where there is no one else in the global organization working but only India. And if you look at the complexity which is growing in our industry, with the regulations coming in, with the products being complex, the life cycles getting shortened. Yeah. I mean, we would require a lot of people to handle this kind of work, and that's where GCCs play a strong role. And definitely, India also brings the best cost advantage to most of the Western OEMs.
I see a point over here. In fact, Mandar, you also raised a very important aspect on, let's say, regulations like CBAM. Now, this will disrupt, I would say, the manner in which the companies in Europe are sourcing not only auto components but general products from different countries, including India. That's one. We've also seen in the recent past a lot of free trade agreements being signed by India and the other countries. I think now India currently has FTAs with roughly around 50 odd countries. So my question to any one of you, when we talk about these kind of regulations, these kind of enablers from the government side, be it on the demand side, on the supply side, like the PLI incentives, how conducive are these regulations or how restrictive are these global regulations in terms of, from an India standpoint, from an India manufacturing ecosystem standpoint to be complying with these global standards? Feel free to jump in, anyone.
See, I'll just add to what you said, and CBAM is a very pertinent topic, especially related to aluminium, which is basically, I guess, one of the major components of Europe exports from India. And if we look at the GDP impact of CBAM for India, I'm not sure, numbers could be here and there, but it could be anywhere north of 0.7 to, in fact, 1% roughly. Okay. Now, why it is a challenge is because right now CBAM is coming up with scope 1 and scope 2 focus as of now. But I'm pretty sure the way the European Union is moving with the emission guidelines, it is very soon going to come up with scope 3 as well. Absolutely. Right? Scope 1 and 2 in fact has been consistent in US as well, where the regulators are looking at that as a focus area. Now coming back, zooming out and to India. In India, as an organization, we only respond to regulations is a problem, right? Now, whenever there's a challenge which has come up, now suddenly we are looking at, okay, can we get, for example, the smelters are looking at what are the alternate sources of energy, or can we reduce the intensity, or what not? Then all the actions are coming in. Now, do we clearly know that, okay, what is the root cause of our supply chain competitiveness, not from just the perspective of cost, but also from the sustainability angle, which is there. You see, the live example is that irrespective of government doing lot of safeguard duties, steel is getting dumped in India. Still, it's not changing. There's again another adding duty which is going to come in. So, do we know our operations well and through data, as Aritra also added that, okay, do we have the digital twins, for example? So, where it begins is basically, do we have the grassroots level consistent data to take a decision that, okay, what is our scientific roadmap if we want to hit that particular goal? So, I see there is a lot of gap in terms of data capabilities, which also gets added because of the intent issues as well, right? So those put together puts us in a position of jeopardy right now, less in the position of strength. So we need to work our way towards it collectively, I guess. But obviously the understanding and the strength is there. It's just that we need to realize it and act upon it.
So
And
data assimilation, data kind of analytics, use of data is going to be critical for us to be managing and complying with those regulations.
Absolutely. We have to self-reflect that how many of us can confidently say that आज मेरे को एक report चाहिए, मैं ERP में run करूँगा और मिलेगा और वो useful होगा. That's the question. That's the fundamental question. If we can answer that, that's yes, well and good. If that's a no, then we need to work towards it.
No, absolutely, and I can relate to it because many a times we have also seen situations wherein the customers and their suppliers have been having issues around reconciliations, and Mandar, you would know it much better. Be it on account of vendor balances reconciliation, be it on account of material movement reconciliations. Companies following JITs have always been pushing their suppliers to kind of make sure that yes, the material comes in time. So I think the sooner we have a single source of truth through whichever technology, the sooner we'll have these issues getting eradicated out from the system. One last thing, and again this is open for everyone, is on the information security or data security, because I think I heard it from all the 4 panelists, the importance of data. And again, from a global regulation standpoint, we now, at least in the auto component space, are required to comply with cybersecurity standards of its own, which is TSACs. Now, from that standpoint, how well are we positioned? How well are we having the capabilities to be complying again from a data security standpoint? Maybe anyone, Tishu, Mandar.
So what we have done, and I'll just touch upon it, how do we slice it? How do we slice the challenge?
Yeah.
Do we see it as a showstopper or a possible enabler later on?
Right.
So same thing we have done for sustainability also, but same thing we are doing for TSACs also. First commitment that we have taken from all suppliers, especially who are doing the global business with us, that they will be TSACs compliant by a certain point of time.
Okay. Yes.
Without that, it's not a yellow. There's no yellow zone there. It's either a green or a red.
Yeah.
So, and we have also shown them that it's not only ZF which is asking for this. The entire world, if their ambition is to become a global player, they better be in it.
Right.
They better be sustainable. They better be TSACs compliant. So, once we are able to show that as a not as a benefit, but as a they are either in the business or they are not in the business. So it's a question of sustenance. Then people have shifted.
Sure.
It depends on how we pitch it.
I mean, having a robust cyber and data security policy is, in my opinion, not an option anymore. It is mandated on one side, but it's also your right to operate to a certain extent. We saw what happens, right? And if there are loopholes in there, CrowdStrike actually brought down almost half of the world for half a day, right? So that shows also how critical it is.
Absolutely.
And that's why, I mean, ZF is also one of our partners and suppliers we work very closely with, and that's why we are complying it. We are putting it down to our supplier sets, and it is going across the globe. But it will play a significant role because also with the connected industry, we are talking about Industry 4.0, connected and machine to machine. And that also brings out new vulnerabilities in the systems.
Sure.
And that's why I believe that we have to, and all the companies are working hard to comply with all these regulations which are out there.
No, I think thank you, for these beautiful insights. In the interest of time, what we'll now do is we'll just take up any 2 or 3 questions at max from the audience. Anyone who wants to ask any?
So this is Deepika. I am VP Sales at Cargo FL. So my question is to Mandar sir and to Aritra. So right now there are various service providers like us in the market who are providing you the real-time visibility, KPIs, dashboards. What do you think, which are the areas which are still untouched by solution providers like us, and where we can bring the AI or Gen AI, and which are the areas where we should focus more rather than providing on tracking and KPIs, dashboards, or maybe insights to you?
So I think where we are in the journey of supply chain, a supply chain is for a company like ours a very, very, very complex thing. I mean, just imagine you have 5,000 components which go into a single vehicle. You have hundreds of variants of it, and you make millions of that. Just multiply the complexity of it. So where we see technology still going a big way is now we have, to a great extent, collected all the data. I am sitting on heaps and heaps of supply chain data. But simple Power BI dashboards are not doing it anymore. We need intelligent systems which are able to understand my system, because supply chain is also handled differently in different companies. Every company has their own processes and own requirements, but we do not have tailor-made off-the-shelf solutions as of now which can go intelligently into those systems and start making sense of those data and start giving me insights on how to become more actionable on those insights which we find in there. And I think there is a huge market, and there AI and Gen AI and all these technologies can play a big role, because otherwise it will become a really cumbersome task to solve that complexity, but AI can definitely help us accelerate that process.
So giving the dashboards in much more understandable way, like control tower, which will help you in taking the better decision making.
Absolutely,
right?
but the dashboards, if it just give me, okay, what is my inventory stock right now? It will tell me a number. But now, is that the right number I should maintain? What is happening on my tier 2, tier 3? What is happening on my demand side?
Right.
That part is still missing. It is still the human sitting in front of the numbers who has to still make a lot of sense out of it. And I don't say that the human intelligence will be not be required, but that level of second and third level of information is not yet, from my point of view, integrated onto these dashboards or onto these analytic systems, where I see a huge potential.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Aritra, I just add the A in the AI we need is actionable.
Yeah, actionable intelligence. Yeah.
I would just add small thing to what Aritra said. I agree with him that the data lakes are available. Yeah, we need dashboards which are a bit customized to our needs. But what I would say is, if we are trying to increase the visibility across the value chain, it would be good to have the plug and play dashboards which could be adopted by the suppliers. Because they don't have the muscle or the need for those complex dashboards that we need. So if you enable that part of it, it'll actually add a lot of value to us.
Hi, myself Mahesh Joshi from Tata Telecom System Limited. My question is regarding the digitization. So how can we improve this traceability to helpful for the manufacturer to maintain their inventory control, to arrangement of the alternate solution while there is any issue and the delay in the lead time?
Can I just add to this? So if you look at visibility, and you asked a very interesting question. Visibility as a spectrum, we can go very granular or we can be at an aggregate level, right? The cost changes, right? So whether it is a digitalization initiative related to visibility or dashboard, it is a manifestation of, first of all, what is our objective actually to it. Because the objective will define the granularity, and if the granularity and objective are aligned, it will define the ROI for the solution actually. Because you can go to as expensive solution as putting RFID and putting tracers everywhere across the value chain, but is it going to make sense investing in that kind of infrastructure? Or we can use smart technologies wherein we can have a granularity. For example, who goes to the screen and looks at the GPS feed every second? Nobody, right? So there we are okay with 8 hours feed, 4 hours feed, or in fact no feed. As Aritra said, that what we need is, if there is an exception happening, then tell me. Or even don't tell me, take an action actually what is required there, right?
Those alerts.
Correct. So if we know that, okay, what is the granularity of visibility we are okay with or we are fine with, and it is going to fulfill our objective of digitalization, then we can take a call on technology actually, because then technology would require the investment for which we need to set up a ROI or a function for the return of that. So the technologies are there, by the way, just to answer it, the technologies are there which can give you as granular as you want, but it is as expensive as it could be and may not fit into the ROI or the return which we are looking for from that solution. So those things we need to assess and then take a call. So we need to assess that, okay, for this objective, what granularity we need. For supply chain orchestration or for inventory orchestration, if we need certain granularity, we should very clearly have that and then plug it back into the kind of solution or kind of digitalization initiative we need. Then it will be helpful according to me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much to all the panelists for sharing their valuable insights. I personally had a lot of learnings from all of you, hearing all of you over the last 1 hour. And thank you, audience, for being patiently listening to all of us.